Good morning and welcome back to Forest Velo. So if you have a puncture, there's three main ways to fix it, isn't there? There's a CO2 canister, there's the old-fashioned bike pump, or there's an electric pump. And today we're going to be looking at the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro, which I've recently been sent by CYCPLUS to review and have a look at, and see how this could be the pump you need. But these are my own opinions about the pump, not CYCPLUS's. We are going to look at the good things about the AS2 Pro and maybe some of the things that you may need to think about if you're going to buy one. Okay, so let's see what's inside the box when you get the AS2 Pro. So when you open the box, obviously at first you get the information about the AS2 Pro, the guide how to use it, a plastic wallet to put it in to make sure it's kept waterproof. But the CYCPLUS does come with a silicone case. It does get hot in use, and so the silicone case helps protect that. It also comes with a lot of adapters and a charging lead, so you can use it in Presta or Schrader valves. And the hose is very useful, especially if you're using TPU tubes, because TPU tubes often come with a plastic valve or valve stem, and that can be damaged by heat. So to turn it on, there's three buttons here which you can just about see through the silicone. First one, hold it down, long press, and it turns on. And to my mind, game-changing thing about the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro is that it comes with a digital gauge. And to me, that makes all the difference. Because yes, you can use CO2 cartridges, canisters, you can use a bike pump, but neither of those tell you PSI, it's always a guess. Whereas with a digital electric pump, you know exactly what pressure you're putting in, which is the really good thing about it. All you do is set the PSI by going up or down with the buttons, and then you press the on button again, and it starts. As you can see, it does make a bit of noise when it's on, but luckily it's pretty short-lived. As you can see, there's also a battery indicator, and 3 bars is full. So what we're going to do is go outside and see how effective this is at inflating tyres and how many charges you can get out of the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro. I know previously in a review I did of the old CYCPLUS pump, the Cube, various people commented about, oh, it can only inflate 2 tyres. You know, what's the point of that? But to me, as I said in the previous video, I think once in 15 years of cycling, I've had 2 punctures on the same ride, and I had to use up 2 CO2 canisters, and that was it. So really, I don't think, in my mind, you know, you do need more than 2 or 3 charges of a tyre. Hopefully not. Obviously, if you have a disaster, anyone could have a disaster. You could have a complete blowout of a tyre and have to get the team car home anyway. So in my mind, this is a pretty good pump. Obviously, it'll last a long time. You can charge it up with a USB-C. It's an all-round win in my mind. Okay, so we're out on our ride and we've got a flat. So flat tyre. Let's see how long it takes to pump the tyre up. So turn it on, long press, digital gauge comes on, put it to 75 PSI, which is normally what I run these 28s at. Put it on and one minute. And 75 psi. And if you put this back on, it does read the pressure. Okay, so that's the first pump. And it's not really that hot after that inflation. So what I'm going to do now is use the extension hose, and that simply screws in the top. As I said, if you're using different valves, there are different attachments to attach those to. But with this, I can actually see the gauge a bit more easily as well. Right, again, turn it on. Set it to 75 psi. And as you can see, it is, well, you might not be able to see, but it is gradually increasing the pressure. And these are 28s, so there is quite a bit of volume of air in the tyre. And 75 psi. So that's 2 inflations, and the battery indicator is down to 1 bar. So it'd be interesting to see if we get 3 inflations out of it. Let's have a go. What I'm going to do first, before trying that 3rd inflation, is I'm interested to see how the pressure gauge is compared to a track pump. And according to my track pump, it is about 75 psi. So actually, give or take 1 psi, it is pretty accurate, which is what I think is the game-changing thing about this. The amount we talk about tyres and rolling resistance on ideal tyre pressures, you can go on the Silka tyre pressure gauge to get exactly the right tyre pressure. You know, it's the in thing at the moment for rolling resistance and speed, and so being accurate with a digital pump is a real boon in my book. Right, last go, let's see. Turn it on, set to 75 psi, push it on firmly, and let's start. It's not actually getting that hot. It's warm to the touch, but as I said, if you're using TPU gauges, it really helps if you use the long tube here. So it died just at 3 inflations, and that is, again, as I said, pretty much spot on 75 psi. So it's managed to do 3 inflations of a 28mm tyre to 75 psi, which I think a lot of people are rolling lower tyre pressures nowadays. So pretty effective. So the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro did manage to inflate the tyre 3 times, which was one of the previous models. I think I got 2 inflations out of it. So it is a bit bigger, and yes, it is heavier than a CO2 cartridge, but not by a huge amount, or a pump. So if you're looking for a pump, the CYCPLUS 3 could fit the bill. And yes, there are negative things about it. It is a bit heavier, it does get hotter. This will, hopefully, if it doesn't break, go on forever. But like I said, I haven't often had to blow my tyre up 3 times on a ride, luckily. And if I do, I'm probably with other people and could always borrow their pump. Or like I said in the first place, if you have a catastrophic failure, none of these pumps are going to work. You're probably going to have to do something else anyway. In my mind, the thing I would use this most for is travelling. Because whenever I travel, if I've been to Mallorca or been to the Alps, or even just taken my bike up in the car to the Lake District for a while or whatever, I often have to either take a track pump, which is pretty big and bulky, or don't if I'm going abroad, and you're relying on someone else having a track pump maybe, or inflating your tyres to what you think is the correct amount. But having this tucked away in your kit bag could be a really useful way to keep in your house, hotel room or whatever, to make sure you've got your tyres pumped up at the optimal pressure, because obviously in planes you normally need to drop your pressure a bit before you go on a flight. So I think the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro could be a really good idea for that, for travelling, keeping in your car, using it as a pump like that at the start of a ride could be a good replacement for a track pump. What do you think? Drop it in the comments below. Do you think the electric pumps are pretty useful nowadays? Have you got one? Have you used it? Or do you think they're a waste of time or a gimmick? As I said, with everything, there is always pros and cons to these things, but the reusability of an electric pump and the preciseness of that digital readout, to me, is a really big difference. If you're interested in getting a CYCPLUS, there is a 5% discount on a link that I'll put in the description. Okay, so I hope you like this look at the CYCPLUS pump and the review. As I said, drop any comments down below, and until next time, bye for now.